share with certain people, that we don't, scare them off and make them feel like they can't voice their opinion, but also just to let them know that without God, you're going to get nowhere. Without God, you're going to be in hell. Without the redemption of God, that you cannot enter the gates of heaven. I know that we can't make anybody come to the Lord. We can't make them choose. We can't beg them enough to make them choose. But we can pray and go before the Lord and seek His face and put their names fervently before the Lord and say, God, I know you know what it's going to take, God, but I don't know what it's going to take. That's one thing I have really been discussing a lot is, God, you know their hearts, and I don't. You know their needs, I don't. You know their desires, and I don't. But God, if I could, I would stand in their place, and I would do it for them. But we cannot stand but for ourselves. That one day we're going to stand before a judge, and He's going to judge us according to His word. But I've been feeling this whole entire service just an urgency to cast our loved ones before the Lord. And the thing is when you do give your loved ones to Jesus, you got to be careful how you talk about it, that you're not taking it out of the hands of Jesus. Because we can't worry about how it's going to go. We just got to know God's got it. Because that's one thing God has really been speaking to me heavily for a long time. When you place somebody in God's hands, you cannot worry about the situation anymore. You cannot worry about their lifestyle. You cannot worry about what's going on or how God's going to do it, because when you worry, you're taking it out of the hands of Jesus. Because worry is not of God. Worry is of sin. It states it clearly in the Bible that when you worry, you're in sin, because we do not worry because Jesus is not of worry. And when we truly put it in the hands of God, we're stating, when we don't worry, God, I trust you and I know you've got this. So no matter what you see, doesn't matter. It's what you know in the Spirit is what matters. It's what you keep speaking into the Spirit is what matters. As God shared this with me one time, when a horse is running a race, they put blinders on that horse because they don't want that horse being distracted of things around it. It's focused on just what's ahead. And a lot of times we got to learn how to put spiritual blinders on our eyes, so to speak. So we'll quit worrying about what's going on around us, and we'll just be focused on what's going on in front of us, which is God. We got to get to a place in our lives where we quit worrying about what's going on in the physical and just keep our eyes focused on what's going on in the Spirit. Because God doesn't operate on how we feel or how we look at circumstances. God operates fully on the Spirit of God. What's moving in the Spirit. And I know within myself that I'm giving my loved ones to the Lord, and I know God's taking care of it. And I'm not going to worry, because I know I'm going to see them in heaven. Because I know God's got a plan bigger than mine. And God knows what it's going to take. But we got to do our part in seeking His face and giving everybody over to the Lord and say, God, I know without a shadow of a doubt, God, you're making a way where there seems to be no way, because God is the work that's impossible. God can do it. What seems impossible to us is not impossible to Jesus. It's not impossible to Jesus. We got to get our faith in gear. And we got to keep our eyes steadfast on the Spirit of God. And know what's going on in the spiritual realm. And not worry about what's going on in the physical. Because those that worry about what's going on in the physical is going to be consumed by what's going on in the physical. And then they're going to lose their self. But those that stay sustained in the Spirit and knows what the Spirit of God is doing is going to rise above the circumstances, because you're going to be so caught up in the Spirit that you're not going to worry about what's going on in the physical, because you know that God's got it.